Something utterly devastating is happening to the Democrat Party. As they scramble to squeeze out every last seat through desperate gerrymandering tactics, the DNC is simultaneously going bankrupt, and their polling has hit historic lows. This is not an accident. It's not bad luck. It's not a rough patch. It's the direct result of what Donald Trump has been doing to dismantle the very system that kept the Democrat Party on life support. Make sure to stay until the very end of this video, because I'm going to show you that this isn't just about money. It's about structural dominance. It's about coalitional realignment, the systematic, methodical transformation of the grand old party into the most formidable political machine this country has ever seen. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Stephen, enjoying yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November of 2024. If you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never imagined, you know what to do. Smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, inside our Courageous Patriot Club, you're not left guessing what I think. You get to ask me directly during our live Monday night Q&As, where I answer every question you throw at me. You also get exclusive members-only videos that never appear on YouTube or any public platform. Click below, join the club, support this channel, and become part of this wonderful inner circle community. All right, let's dive in. Let's start with the latest polling, because Trump and the GOP are absolutely crushing it. According to the latest Quinnipiac numbers, Trump has actually gained support among Republicans over the past month. Between March and April, his approval climbed from roughly 72% to around 81%. That means 8 out of 10 Republicans are solidly behind Trump, and that mirrors a YouGov poll showing Trump moving from 81% to 84% approval during the same period. So despite all the infighting among podcast pessimists, support for Trump is actually growing. He's only tightening his grip on the party. According to the latest NBC poll, when Republicans were asked whether they identify more as MAGA or simply as Republican, 53% said MAGA and 47% said Republican. YouGov puts that number even higher. Over 60% now identify as MAGA. By every measure, MAGA is the Republican Party. There's no way around it. As for the GOP itself, the latest Morning Consult generic ballot poll shows Republicans within 3 points of Democrats, 45 to 42. In a midterm year, that is absolutely devastating for Democrats. They should be up by double digits right now. Back in 2018, at this same point in the cycle, Democrats were beating Republicans by double digits on the generic ballot, and they went on to win 40 House seats, even as the GOP picked up 2 Senate seats. Only the 5th time in a century that the party in power managed that. That was also the year Florida officially turned solid red under Ron DeSantis, and things have only gotten worse for them there since. Now, all of that is good news, but we don't want to miss the deeper story of what Trump has done to secure numbers like these. Donald Trump hasn't just beaten the Democrats in 1 election, or 2, or even 3. He has fundamentally restructured the political economy of American politics. He's rewritten the rules of who gives money, who shows up, who registers, and who votes, in ways that are going to compound for decades. And the clearest, most irrefutable proof of that is in the latest Federal Election Commission numbers. They are absolutely staggering. Let's talk fundraising, because this is where the story gets truly mind-blowing. By the end of 2025, and these are hard FEC filing numbers, not spin, the RNC raised $172 million. The DNC raised $145 million, and their supporters are out there saying, "We're almost competitive." But here's the catch. The DNC spent $154 million. They spent more than they raised. And keep in mind, this is largely because DOGE efforts shut down USAID and the slush funds Democrats were raiding from taxpayer money to fill their own coffers. They entered 2026, a midterm election year, the most critical year outside of a presidential cycle, with just $14 million in the bank and $17.5 million in debt. The DNC took out a $15 million loan just to fund their governor's races in Virginia and New Jersey alone. They took out a loan to run 2 campaigns. Contrast that with the RNC, which closed 2025 with nearly $100 million in the bank and zero debt. By March of this year, that gap has widened even further. The RNC now holds nearly $110 million in cash versus the DNC's $15.9 million, a nearly 7-to-1 cash advantage. And just last week, the NRCC, the House Republicans' campaign arm, dropped their first quarter 2026 fundraising numbers, a record $47.1 million in a single quarter, the best March ever. That brings their total for this cycle to $164.4 million, with $78.2 million in cash on hand, heading into the final stretch before November. Congressional Republicans have now outraised Democrats for 5 straight quarters. And here's the kicker. It's the first time in a decade that Republicans have outraised the House Democrats' campaign arm in the first year of an election cycle. So, when the media tells you Democrats are energized, remember, you can't run ads without money. You can't hire field organizers without money. You can't do voter outreach without money. And right now, the Republican Party is awash in cash. A cash advantage so large, it's almost embarrassing. Again, largely because of Donald Trump and Doge putting a stop to Democrats raiding taxpayer funds for political gain. But all of this is just the tip of the iceberg. Wait until you see the partisan realignment that promises to reshape politics for the foreseeable future. But first, let's face it, you had a number in your head, the number you thought would be enough to retire. And then the cost of life kept rising. Now the question isn't whether you saved, it's whether what you saved can still buy the retirement you planned for. Think about what's happening right now. Wars flaring up, oil spiking, and everything getting more expensive. Gas, groceries, insurance. We've seen this before. We're watching a structural shift in the global economy where inflation isn't temporary, it's embedded. And historically, when that happens, purchasing power doesn't recover. It erodes. Your dollar buys less. Your savings carry less. And people counting down to retirement start wondering whether they need to push it back, all because the cost of living moved the finish line. That was my wake-up call. I knew there had to be something more I could do to protect what I'd built. So I did my research, and that's when I found Augusta Precious Metals. They taught me things I didn't even know were possible. I had no idea you could move your IRA or 401k into physical gold, tax-free and penalty-free, a real asset that has held its value through wars, oil spikes, and market chaos. That changed everything for me. I've spoken with Augusta's education team. These people know their stuff, and they explain it with remarkable clarity. Here's what I recommend you do right now. Go to turleybuysgold.com or text Turley to 35052 to get Augusta's free gold IRA guide. That's turleybuysgold.com or text Turley to 35052. Because the retirement you dreamed of is still possible, but only if you protect it. Now, there is nothing less than a voter registration earthquake underway, and it is genuinely seismic. A major New York Times analysis of voter registration records across 30 states found something remarkable. From 2020 to 2024, Democrats lost 2.1 million registered voters, while Republicans gained 2.4 million. That's a 4.5 million voter swing in the Republican direction in just 4 years, and that swing has only accelerated since then. 2 states have already flipped. North Carolina and Nevada are now both officially majority Republican registered states. Pennsylvania isn't far behind. Even in deep blue New York, Democrats lost over 100,000 enrollees in a single year while Republican enrollment grew. This is tectonic. It's not a blip. It's a structural realignment of the American electorate happening right now on Donald Trump's watch. CNN's Harry Enton found that Trump's approval rating among the most likely voters in the nation is the highest of any president in the 21st century at this stage of a second term, sitting at 44%. Compare that to Obama at 39% and George W. Bush at just 34% at the same point in their second terms. Trump is outperforming every second-term president of this century among a key voting bloc, senior citizens. And he's doing it while also having stolen Obama's coalition of white working-class voters and Latino voters who have largely defected to Trump. That is very intentional. That is the key to Trump's master plan. Trump hasn't just won elections. He has fundamentally restructured what the Republican Party is and who it represents. In 2012, Mitt Romney lost because Republicans couldn't win working-class voters in the industrial Midwest, couldn't compete with minority voters, and were hemorrhaging young men. The infamous RNC autopsy after that election called for moving left on immigration, left on social issues, and softening on trade. Trump did the exact opposite and built a bigger coalition. Today's Republican Party is the party of the working class. It's the party of Latino voters in South Texas, Miami, and Nevada. It's the party of black men in cities like Detroit and Philadelphia who have watched Democratic promises evaporate over 50 years. It's the party of Gen Z men, where Democratic registration among young white men has collapsed from 49% down to just 29%. Not a blip, but a generational shift. And crucially, it's now the party of small donors. When Democrats talk about grassroots energy, they mean reactive bursts of outrage money after the latest news cycle. Big checks from George Soros. When Republicans talk about grassroots energy, they mean 1.2 million unique donors making 23 million individual contributions in a single year. That's a party rebuilt from the ground up, around a different kind of voter, a different kind of donor, and a different kind of coalition. And that takes years to reverse. So let's put this all together. What we are looking at is not just a party that won an election. What we are looking at is a party that has achieved something far rarer and far more durable. Structural dominance. A nearly 7-to-1 cash advantage at the national party level. A voter registration swing of 4.5 million in the Republican direction. A senior voter base holding at historic approval levels. A Gen Z male cohort trending Republican for the first time in the modern era. And small-dollar grassroots fundraising that has grown 60% in 4 years. At the center of it all is the architect, Donald J. Trump, because he understood something profound that the Republican establishment had forgotten and Democrats had never truly grasped. People don't give their money, their time, and their votes to a party. They give it to a movement. They give it to a cause, and they give it to a man who fights for them. That's what he built. And the numbers, the cold, hard, FEC-filed numbers, prove it.